Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, a weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. And it's the one thing on my channel that when I say weekly, I really do mean it. As you can tell, we haven't been doing a whole lot on the YouTube channel, just been dealing with some stuff on my end. Like many of you know, March, not the greatest time of year for me. I actually even took a day off of stream, which I haven't done in a while, just the other day. But I'm taking care of myself, and I know that first and foremost, that is the thing I need to do. And not that I haven't been trying. I actually recorded 4 videos this week and didn't release a single one. Because I just listen and I'm like, oh, why would I say that like that? Oh, that doesn't come out right. I got to start over here. Let me rewrite this. And there's only so many times you can do that before you just shelve the whole thing. So I did try a few things. Some of them like best of style things. Another State of the Realm best of, by the way. I've already started downloading clips for that. That is something, fortunately, that's just chopping together clips that already exist. So I don't have to worry too much about my own input into the actual audio and video and all that stuff. So there are plenty of things in the works. And of course, as 14 comes out with new stuff, I'm always going to be releasing videos on that. But whenever I'm having a tough time, and it does happen probably twice, maybe 3 times a year, I am always going to take the opportunity to take care of myself the most. That being said, there was a fun little project that I got to work on this last week. A lot of you probably know about it already, but over on Ethis Asher's channel, on his Twitch channel, and I believe part 1 has been uploaded to the YouTube already, we did a Final Fantasy XIV themed D&D one-shot. Now, it's actually going to be a 2-shot because it ended up taking a little too long. That being said, it was a lot of fun, and we're looking forward to finishing that up later this week, and then that'll get posted to his channel as well. That was a fun little thing. I've always been, sort of on the fence about D&D. I have a really hard time committing to, really long campaigns, so the idea of a 1-shot or a 2-shot was really attractive to me. And I always feel like, you ever been, in a crowd of people, and, you get along with every person who's there, but if anyone else even shows a semblance of wanting to speak, you're just like, and you just shut up and listen. I'm one of those people. It makes being in a D&D campaign a little more difficult for me when I want to give my character a little bit of flair, especially when I feel like cutting off the DM 90% of the time. And I know they don't like that. But it was a fun time, and I'm looking forward to finishing that up, and who knows, if he ever needs me for anything else, I'll be sure to make myself available for that as well. With that, let's get on to the questions. Thank you to our sponsors over on Patreon for supporting the channel, even through these tougher times for me. All the names on that list, even if you're not on Patreon, your name is still on that list because it's been a hell of a year for a lot of us. Especially, it's literally almost a year at this point. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to our patrons of Darkness, Khuja Cross, on Jenova, and Kurenai Oni, who have gone above and beyond with supporting the channel. Thank you to all of our patrons. And of course, thank you to those of you who tune in every week and those of you who ask questions. Speaking of which, let's see how many Stat Squish questions I have to skip this week. Oh, I had to scroll through 13 comments about the healer rescue thing. Listen, I've been thinking about that all week, and I just want to believe I'm missing something in that story because I refuse to believe it exists, and yet the problem is I completely believe it exists. So, but I'm glad to see everybody else having a similar reaction to me as I did last week with the healer rescue question. So this was the first question I found. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Thanks for answering my question last week. No problem. My one for this week is, are you going to do another thoughts on video for Blue Mage at 70? Thought I did. Man, I'm really out of it then. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's a video idea for this week because I can definitely crank that up. Gonna do Final Fantasy Bestiary videos for the new jobs added in Shadowbringers and Endwalker. So I actually kind of want to take a different approach. That is another video I canceled doing this week, actually, is the Sage Bestiary. So I'm glad you brought it up. And it was because this Sage is so much different than the Sage that we have in the rest of the franchise, that instead of doing one to teach people about Sage before it comes out, it felt like, and the reason I canceled the video is because it felt like it made more sense to learn about 14's Sage before making the video, because it's just so drastically different that it doesn't feel like anything I say about the history of the job is as relevant as what we're going to experience, or isn't close to anything that we're going to experience. So maybe there'll be some skill overlap, but honestly, Sage doesn't really have that much in the way of uniqueness in the Final Fantasy XIV franchise, and this will be the most original take on Sage. Very, very different from what we've seen from any of the other ones. So yes, the answer to that is yes. Obviously, with the other job, if it's a job that we have, if it's a brand new job, if it's a brand new name for the job, it becomes a little bit harder to do a bestiary for it. At that case, maybe we do some job lore videos. I haven't done a job lore video ever. And honestly, it's quite interesting because there's some things that happen even in the level 80 ones that involve some characters that people have been wondering where they are. So yeah, the answer is yes, but probably not till after they come out instead of doing it ahead of them coming out to teach people about the job. All right, there's actually a quick question above this one that I guess I'll mini lightning around. Just somebody asking me when Eden's Promised Savage tier will be unlocked. That should be unlocked in 5.58. Now, they did unlock the previous Savage tier. I think they did it in 5.35 instead of 5.4, which is what they normally do. Actually, no, I think they would have done it 5.38, but they did it at 5.35 instead. So this one will probably be 5.58 because they should be back on schedule-ish when it comes to the timing of everything. So that's what my reasonable prediction says it'll be, 5.58, but 5.55 is likely since they did it for 5.4, the 5.2 raids here. So that's a maybe. We'll see. As for the question that's right in front of us, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Happy. Hope you're having a good day. Thank you so much for the content, or the lack thereof the last couple of weeks. Thank you, and hello, by the way. My question is about the races. You mentioned no new races are on the horizon. I can definitely see that, but on the current limited races, it makes sense, the name limited races, but it hurts to read it. You know what I mean? Do you think there will be any marked improvement for Hrothgar Vieira? No. I know it really sucks to hear. Nobody wants to hear, oh, no, I don't think they're going to do it. It's not that they don't want to. It's the amount of resources they're going to have to put into doing it because of the way they did it from the beginning. It's one of those things that sooner or later the answer will be yes, but I'm never going to be optimistic on when that is. It's like Eggy Glamour. How can I be optimistic on when something is going to be? You know what I mean? I just can't. It feels disingenuous to act like, oh yeah, of course, or like, well, I mean, they have to, because the answer to both of those is no, they really don't, and they might not. So I feel like it'll happen sooner or later, but then it will not be in 6.0 at the very least. So, and I don't think the opposite genders. I see you start bringing up the opposite genders here as well. I don't think that's going to happen in 6.0. I don't think that's going to happen ever anymore. But I especially don't think it'll happen in 6.0. All right, hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hope you're doing all right. As always, thank you so much for answering my question last week. I just cleared Deliverance Savage yesterday. Hey, congratulations. That is definitely still an undertaking. It doesn't matter how many weeks or months out, it is. Congratulations. Hopefully you got luckier than I did and actually got some of the pieces outright from some of the bosses other than the final boss. So, question will be about that mainly. What would you personally like to see the devs use from Delubrum and other contents of the game? I'd like to see puzzle rooms, slimes, and golems, and stuff like normal 24-mans. Pretty much anything in Delubrum I would accept in anywhere else in the game, really. So, everyone knows I like to joke about how much I'm not a big fan of the Nier raids. I'm not a huge fan of 24-man raids overall. The Nier raids in particular just don't hit a note with me. They feel super out of place, and I'm not particularly interested in what they're trying to tell me in the story so far. It doesn't feel like it's really part of Final Fantasy XIV, and if I wanted a Nier sequel, I'd play a Nier sequel. That being said, the big thing that makes Delubrum so repeatable for me actually is the actions. I feel like 24-mans with these actions are way more interesting, but the caveats of that, man, we all see when people don't bring essences or actions. You get the 50, 55, 60-minute run, and that's very unusual for a 24-man that's been out for a while. So that has its pros and its cons, but actions in 24-mans make it more repeatable for someone like me who likes to try a little bit harder to speed up the run. Getting my 26, 28-minute Delubrum normals, as much as I think that the average player would actually suffer from having that, even if it seems like a fun idea on the surface. And pretty much everything from the Savage I'm okay with. The puzzles and the golems, the slimes and the golems were kind of I think the slime side was disproportionately difficult. Even if it's not really that difficult, I mean, comparatively to the golem side it is. That was really, really off, and when both groups need to get it down packed, it's kind of... Everyone who's Prog Savage just looks over at Slime side and they're like, so what the hell is happening? We're done here on Golem. We figured it out on the second pull. Slime side's like, shut up. Nobody cares. Shut up. Shut up. Okay? And that's a big thing. Let's see. I've seen tanks and healers have the most responsibility. Yeah, they just shove. That's the other problem with actions is the healers just get shoved with everything. In our group, all the DPS, they had to discuss, who's bringing Flare Star, who's bringing Rend Armor. Healers, they're like, okay, so you need Protect Shell, Steel Sting, Spellforge, bring some Arises, make sure you have your Essence, and then one of you have Reflect, one of you have Dispel. Does any of you have a spare spot? If none of you have any of that, make sure you bring Cleric. You could always bring Banner of Noble Ends if you want to do some DPS as well. And I'm like, bro, what are you bringing? Damage. And you know what? It worked. So it's going to keep happening like that. So that's a big thing. I wonder if there's a way they could offset that a little bit. I mean, other than forcing, like, oh, Dispel can only be brought by melee, which would be kind of weird. I don't think that's actually a good idea, but that's like the only way they could really force it to not happen that way. But I mean, yeah, pretty much anything from DR Savage I think is a good idea, but incentivize it better. The rewards from DR Savage are kind of underwhelming, and I think that's its biggest fall through. Also, make sure it's dynamic. Dynamic raid sizes, I think, ever since WoW started doing it, I'm like, that's a really good idea, as difficult as it is to balance. And I think DR Savage needs it, at least, it needs it after the fact. Like, it doesn't need it right when it launches, but somewhere down the line, I feel like it needs dynamic difficulty based on the number of people that are in there, so it's feasible, kind of like BA is, without having a full raid. Bonus question started Defu a few weeks ago. Hey, nice. When should I tackle Lufenia? So Lufenias there's no universal when for Lufenias, because a lot of them are very much designed around characters that are specifically for that event. So like if a new character comes out, the Lufenia difficulty of its fight comes out. Not to say there aren't other characters in your arsenal that would be really good in those Lufenias, and the Defu community is really good at communicating when there are characters that are just universally good in this one, that. Great information out there because of people who play the JP version and then pass that information along to the global version. But when you're first starting out, I wouldn't worry too much about Lufenias, just because of how difficult it can be to have a proper team set up for them. And it's an undertaking. I would try them as you get characters, and just like sooner or later you'll roll into one that you can do. Also, old Lufenias, you will probably have a much easier time with. Those are way less, how do I say it, way less strict on the checks, or don't require as intensive a counterplay to the orbs. That's a case-to-case basis, though, so I'd say, if anything, focus more on Dimensions End. The later Dimensions End are Lufenia difficulty, but the earlier ones, which are very important towards the progress of your account and your character, those you'll probably be able to tackle much sooner than the individual new on-release Lufenias. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hey, listen. Navi. Hope you have a wonderful day. You too. The recent announcement of the next expansion made me really excited. New story, new classes, but after a bit more thought, I can't shake the feeling that something is missing. Made me think of WoW expansions. Each expansion in recent memory added a new feature to look forward to, either its artifact, weapon, covenants. Feels like currently we are missing something that will break the formula that we are so used to. Closest thing we have currently announced is the Island Sanctuary, but that's just going to be Ocean Fishing 2.0. Yo, listen. I'm 600,000 points out of 3 million points on ocean fishing. That shit is serious business, all right? I was wondering if you feel the same. No, so one big thing with Final Fantasy XIV is trying to keep a mold that only occasionally cracks open to let something else in. That's why 14 has managed to stay at the point it is. Now, I understand that people constantly feel this like desire to have something new, something exciting, something that isn't what they're expecting. And that comes with certain risks. WoW often does have those, and they often, let's just say that if the cracks are opening to let something else in Final Fantasy XIV, sometimes the cracks open and things fall out. And that can be brand new features that either get abandoned in expansion later, or just don't deliver in the correct ways. I know what's it called? The Pals of the Dead equivalent in the most recent WoW expansion has not been received in the most fondly of manners, and I heard Mythic Plus has kind of taken some downgrades as well compared to the previous expansion. So sometimes just having something new that breaks the mold doesn't mean that mold is gonna come back together. I'm tired of analogies. Sometimes new things are great and sometimes they suck. We've seen it in 14, we see it in WoW, and quite frankly, as long as I know I'm getting the things that I will enjoy, I'm usually content with stuff with Final Fantasy XIV. And that's going to be the same with Endwalker. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hope you're having a great day. I hope the same for you. First time commenter, long time watcher, welcome. I was wondering if you could explain or do a video about the Wondrous Tale solver, explain how it works. I understand you'd have to probably contact the creator to make sure it's okay. No, actually, I can explain this entire, let me finish reading, or fiddle around with it yourself. I don't know if it's new or old, but there doesn't seem to be any videos for YouTube about it. The creator gives an explanation of how it works, but I get lost. So, the Wondrous Tale solver is actually very similar in function to the what's it called, the MGP, the Cactpot solver, which is for the mini Cactpot that you can do 3 days, the little scratch off, where basically it calculates odds of you being able to achieve 0, 1, 2, or 3 lines. Now 0 obviously is always 100%. 1 line has to factor in how many different lines you have available to yourself and how many different places. So once you start putting some stickers in, it's going to give you the theoretical odds of where a sticker could end up. Now, I'm not looking at the Wondrous Tale Solver, but there's no way to know where a sticker is going to land in Wondrous Tales. But obviously, depending on how many squares are available, there's a percentage odd. I think there's, 16 squares by default with Wondrous Tales, and you get 9 stickers. So, your first sticker can land anywhere. Every other space now has a 1 in 15 chance of being the next sticker. Now, let's say you have, 7 stickers. That's the maximum that you're allowed to re-roll with. When you shuffle it around, you're not necessarily looking at the odds that a sticker lands in a specific place, but looking at the odds of a sticker landing in a place that will give you a line, 2 lines, or 3 lines. I forget what the flat odds are for a 3-line, because there is only 1% chance of getting a 3-line. It needs a very specific pattern that technically can be like flipped and rotated, but still needs to look the same regardless of which way it's rotated. And then there's 2 lines and 1 line. So it's just presenting you odds of your layout, because if your layout has no possibility of getting 3 lines, it needs to convey that. If there's 2 places it could land that could give you 2 lines, it needs to convey that. If there's only 1 place it can land that can give you 2 lines, it needs to convey that. 0 places, then it goes down to 1 line. How many different ways can I get 1 line, etc., etc., etc. So all it's doing is presenting you with odds, because Wondrous Tales is completely random. At least with the MGP there, the mini cactpot solver, it gives you percentage odds of a side being a specific row of numbers based on what's already on the grid and what you've already unveiled. And what's still available, I should say. So that's all there is to it. That's it. So it's never going to tell you, oh, do this, you'll get 3 lines. It can't happen. That's just not how Wondrous Tales work. It's just meant to let you know after you've shuffled, what are my odds of getting anything at all with this shuffle. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. Hope you're doing well. You too. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have pointed at you. I shouldn't be pointing at any of you, but now I'm pointing at all of you. Anyway, I started Final Fantasy about 6 months ago and just got into Savage raiding a bit this last patch. Nice. Cleared the first 3 fights in the Party Finder and found a static for E12. We had a really good time with it. You had a really good experience. A lot of people don't have as clean of an experience as that, so I'm glad to hear that. I play on JP servers from the UK to play with my friends. So oh, that's why you cleared, because you're playing on the JP. Clear rates are way better over on Japan. But it sounds like you're playing with your not American, English friends. So my latency is around 300 ms. Yeah, that's going to happen from the UK. That's a distance. Totally used to it. Play Paladin. You can single weave, rely on cast bars, move a little early. I'm thinking of suggesting to my static we try Ultimate, but I'm worried about how fast the mechanics look. There's some mechanics in older fights I have real trouble with because they come very quick compared to modern stuff. E.g. I'm almost... Okay, no. So Weight of the Land is actually, to this day, still the fastest mechanic in the game. So the fact that you have 300 ms and you get hit by that without like literally moving before it's visible, that is not a surprise in any way, shape, or form. So other than that, if Weight of the Land is your case in point example, even Ultimate's Weight of the Land has a longer cast time than old Weight of the Land. That old one, the one that's in Titan Unreal currently, and the old Titan Extreme and Hard Mode ones, those are faster than the current ones in Ultimate. It's actually nuts. So if that's your example, I'm here to tell you it's not going to be comfortable. There's going to be some growing pains. But you could definitely do Ultimate with 300 ms, as long as you keep doing all the things you're already doing, but maybe fine-tune them a little bit to the new speeds that everything is happening. Ultimates don't happen as fast as people think they do. It looks like a lot because there's a ton of stuff on the screen, but most of the time in Ultimates, we're like really positioned far, far ahead of the things that are happening. There's still a few mechanics that are a little bit more or less latency. Latency can really hurt you or help you depending on how early you try to react or how late. But yeah, I think you'll be fine. If you've already been doing Savage, E12, all that stuff, I personally think you'll be fine. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hello. Hi. Hope you had a nice weekend. You too. How often is the 14 lore book updated? Should I buy one now or should I wait for the Endwalker version to release? So they are not all the same. They don't just take the original lore book, slap everything that was in the first lore book, and then release it with new stuff as a new lore book. Every different lore book has different entries in it. So having the previous 2 and having the new one, there'll definitely be some overlap, but not as much as you're thinking. So I would say get it whenever you want to get it. If you can get the previous lore books before Endwalker releases, and then get the Endwalker one after, I'd say go right ahead. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Haps. Hello. Considering your affinity for JRPGs and super boss fights, You know me. Has anyone recommended checking out Another Eden? Yes, I have heard about this game. I have looked at it, and it does look interesting. I was thinking of trying it out. Game is looking at Steam release soon-ish. It's a spiritual successor to Chrono Trigger. I think this game might be up your alley. Yeah, you know, that happens with a lot. I've actually missed a ton of RPGs throughout my life through a various number of reasons. Some of them just me not meshing with an RPG as well as people maybe expect me to, or it coming out at a time where it's just not like an opportune time for me to play. And not gonna lie, most of my childhood was consumed by Final Fantasy XI. Nothing was really opportune to play when you were on that game 8-9 hours a day for years straight. So yeah, I saw it. I'm looking at it, and I might play it. All right, next one, hashtag Mrhappy Monies. Hey there, Haps. Hope you're doing well. Hello, and hope the same for you. A bit of a different question for you this week. What is your favorite episode of Sketch from the IT crowd? Cheers for answering. Definitely the bomb disarming robot, where they're standing at the bomb. They're both just standing there, and then the bomb defusal robot comes over, and he yells, "What up?" It's like, "Sorry, I'm having a bit of issues with the robot." "What operating system does it use?" "Vista." "Oh, we're screwed. We're screwed." And then he immediately realized, he's like, "Wait, we can walk. Why am I standing? I'm leaving." And the other guy's like, he's like frozen solid in fear. And he just won't move. That's definitely my favorite one, is the bomb defusal robot. Hashtag Mrhappy Monies. Hi, Haps. Hello. On the official forums, there are quite a few people pushing for positionals to be removed from melee classes. Ugh. As a player who's always played rogue-style classes in MMOs, I hate the idea of positionals being removed. The standing argument is that Monk GCD is too fast. They do not want to watch me play Monk in... Well, to be fair, the place I play Monk at 1.57 GCD is a place with no positionals, so I guess that doesn't matter. For the number of positionals they have and that positionals don't matter enough... Listen. If they didn't matter enough, people wouldn't do them. All right. What are your thoughts on positionals as a whole? I would rather them be a bigger part of the damage than... Yeah, I completely agree with you. Arguments on the official forums for lowering the skill ceiling on classes seem to be rampant. I mean, this is a big thing. A lot of people who are in the circles that, like... frequent, I guess, places like Reddit or live streams, it's more often made up of people who are on this side of the fence, of people who want to like either make things more difficult or don't want to see identity or the ceiling lowered or anything like that. So, you know, that's great for us. The truth of the matter is that isn't so far from the way the average player looks at the game. It could not be further from the way the average player looks at the game. I think that there are some game mechanics that deserve to be removed because they hinder the identity of a job or a series of jobs, such as cleric stance for healers. You know, honestly, obviously healers DPS nowadays, but the idea of gating it behind this high skill ceiling skill, which I know it doesn't sound crazy. Cleric stance was a high skill ceiling skill because if you screwed it up, people died. Bottom line. There was no way around that, and yet everyone was trying to force it on all the players picking up the game. What did it lead to? Tons of deaths, or people just refusing to use it. Soon as it's gone, healers now have just a few tools to worry about. There's no excuse not to be occasionally contributing damage, and people still are resistant to it. So the people who took it as the opportunity to approach the job, approach it with a new outlook, maybe do something they were afraid of doing before, have now benefited from this change. Positionals, that feels like laziness to me. Because Melee, that's been the key thing of Melee, is that they have positionals for you to maintain. And I agree that perhaps they've gone too much in the other direction of making positionals less of a problem. Now, for a high skill player, they take things like True North or Riddle of Earth, and they look at places in the fight where they can optimally use it for the best damage output. And I feel like that amount of skill is A, not necessary to clear the fights, but B, super worth pulling off once you actually can do it in any given encounter. And it makes a huge, huge difference, more so than people are making it seem through whatever math they may be presenting. And it just feels like people want an easy road. I feel like it's a tough situation, because people are going to look at every different game mechanic differently. Tanks also, you know, and you used to have to tank without tank stance. And now they just said, well, tank stance won't reduce your damage dealt, but it also won't reduce your damage taken. It's just an enmity tool, and that's it. You shouldn't have any issues. As long as you have this on and are pressing buttons, now you can focus on performing your DPS rotation while still hitting your tank stuff and be achieving everything. Same with healer. It was like trying to get people to open up to the idea of outputting more damage on a roll that's not usually associated with damage by making it accessible. that doesn't feel like the case with melee. I mean, slowly but surely, you could just argue that job gauges and the way they interact are just a waste of time when you could just give the skill a cooldown. Like, if I know 10 skills from now I'm going to have this skill, then why don't they just make it a 25, 30-second cooldown instead, right? Like, that's the argument eventually just starts boiling down to that. And I feel like starting with positionals, I hope they don't take that feedback any more seriously than just a few forum posts, because I don't think it represents the majority, but it represents a very loud group of people who don't want it. So I would prefer positionals become more prevalent and not less prevalent. And every time someone brings this up, I'm just afraid they're going to go the other way. It would honestly make Monk a lot less interesting for me. I love Juicing and Delibrum Normal for my weekly and for my relics, but it would be so much less interesting and everything else for me if I didn't have to think about positionals. Next one, hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Lollyho there, haps. I don't know why I said haps. Mr. Happy is what you said. Long time watcher, first time asker. Welcome. First question, you doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. Second question, I leveled my Fisher to the mid-50s ages ago. Just yesterday, I got all my Disciples of War and Magic to 80, and I'm working on my Disciples of Hand and Land. My problem with Fisher is that, one, like many aspects of the job, the game doesn't do a good job. Oh, I already know what my answer is going to be. The reader viewer has previous knowledge of how Fisher works. Planned on using Diadem as I am using the Firmament to level... Dude, ocean fishing. Ocean fishing is you get on a boat, you cast the line, you press the button that pulls the line back in, and you level. Now, there are ways to make it more efficient, using patience and going for HQ fish, using double hooks on specific types of fish and learning, how long it's on the line versus what bait you're using. Bro, here's what you do. You buy ragworm, krill, and plump worms from the NPC next to the ocean fishing NPC. You ask on the boat what baits for this stop, do what the people tell you to do, and you're done. That's it. And you can do that once every 2 hours on the hour, and that's it. You don't have to know anything else about fishing to do that and get it done. And you'll get 2 levels of boat ride. I guarantee it. Just do that, and your Fisher will be leveled in no time. All right, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays. I got it. Greetings to you, and I hope you've been doing well. I hope the same for you. With the 5.4 change to perfect balance, you mentioned the possibility of other similar skills, such as Delirium or Inner Release, getting the same treatment in the future. If that happens, do you think they'll remove skill speed as a stat on gear and materia? And spell speed, you'd have to wonder that about. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for jobs that don't have an ability like that, skill speed seems to be more of a nuisance that you have to avoid when picking gear instead of a useful stat. So I'm wondering if removing it would improve the gearing experience. So that depends on the job. Some jobs, it's not just about fitting enough GCDs inside of a small GCD window. It's about how well your GCDs line up with the rest of your kit. Now, I know that makes it seem like 2.5 would automatically be the number you'd want to go to, but if you can ideally get an extra full rotation in, for example, and still meet the right GCD on your reopener, those kind of things do matter. Now, I will say this, I think skill speed and spell speed, for one, if they're going to keep it, needs to be remodeled into haste. One stat that's universal, enough with the 2 different stats. Replace all the skill speed and spell speed materia, or get rid of them and replace them with haste materia. And just do us all a favor. There's no point really in those stats being different other than the sake of them being different. That being said, I'd prefer they take that opportunity to find other ways to incentivize those skills. The biggest problem is that crit is too strong. It is the bottom line. And there are some jobs that really like spell speed. We've seen Black Mage really, really benefit from it. We've seen Skill Speed Samurai be a serious thing. And if crit wasn't so powerful, I feel like a lot of people would actually go towards haste builds, just out of sake of having a little more fun, a little bit more fast-paced and just burning through everything. But your burst and your windows still need to line up with everything, and that is a principal problem with it. How they approach that problem, I'm not really sure. I don't know what their outlook is on it. I don't know what their feedback is on it. So I don't have an answer any more than they've given us one so far. In other words, nothing. So the answer to your question in short is, based on the way you've worded this, yes, they could remove it. My personal thought is they shouldn't, and they should find ways to balance the stats so it just doesn't become the crit game like it always does. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hey, Happy, how are you? I'm doing good. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I've yet another question for you. Ultimate related. During the live letter, we got a bit of insight on how they develop ultimates and why it takes as long as it does, especially the time spent testing and tuning mechanics. Since the weapons are obvious recolors of old weapons, T-Dancer weapon. What do you think if the dev team decided to make one new ultimate the norm, and instead of a second, rebalance and retune the old ones and add new weapons? I'm curious on your thoughts. No. It's not an inherently bad idea. I think people could take this opinion either way, but new is kind of always better. And if only one or two new jobs has an obtainable weapon, I mean, obviously it depends on how old the ultimate is, how many jobs need to be brought into it. But a lot of people are not going to be as motivated to revisit it. Just retuning it so it's max level, but it'd still be all the same mechanics. It's kind of like you're asking for Unreal Ultimate, essentially, but updated with new weapons. And while not an inherently bad idea, I think people who still do old ultimates would actually prefer if they were brought up to the current max level so we could use our full kits. The idea of not doing a second ultimate to instead do that, I feel like that's a lot of missed opportunity. And now I'd say that if it was a choice between doing 2 and doing this as opposed to doing 3, I'd probably be more on board. But 1 and this instead, I can't agree with that personally. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hello, Haps. How you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. I recently cleared DR Savage. Congratulations. And got my doggo. But upon completion, I noticed I did not get a Time Worn artifact, which always comes from normal mode. Obviously, neither I nor SC expect players to farm DR Savage over normal, but I figured it would be a nice bonus. What are your thoughts? I noticed this the other week. When DR Savage came out and I was doing my first 5 clears, I was like, you know what? Why doesn't this give a Time-Worn artifact? Like, am I breaking the game by getting the normal mode clear item? Honestly, that's true of a lot of DR Savage. The fact that you can't get Time-Worn artifacts in there. Again, like you said, not that we choose to do it instead, but it'd be nice. All of the rewards aren't, not being sellable, I think is actually a mistake inside of DR Savage. I think those should be sellable, and it's one of the things that kept BA even more alive than it already was, because it's very alive still, surprisingly. And just not including the hairstyle, not including the possible Gabriel, all the normal mode loot should just be in Savage also. I honestly don't know why they're so adverse to doing that, but including the Time Worn artifacts, yeah. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, hi. So my question is, just got right to it. No, you know what? But you said hey. See, if you were trying to joke about the people who don't say hello and then ask their question, you said hey. You did more than them. Just know that. Just know that you still went above and beyond, as I like to say. Hi, hope you're well. Hope the same for you. Anyway, do you think the new jobs will have much of a quest line? Yeah, I think they'll have 10 levels worth of job quests, just like Gunbreaker and Dancer did. I think they'll still do the same for the new jobs. Just all the old jobs, in fact, I'm pretty sure they said that the new jobs would have job quests like Gunbreaker and Dancer did. And I think they even said there will be new job quests for the existing jobs, but it'll be like just that one max level quest that takes like 5 minutes to do. But then we're also, of course, getting 5 role quest sets instead of 4. And then let's be honest, there's probably going to be like an overarching role quest story, just like there was with the prelude to the Void quests. I think we'll get job quests for Sage plus whatever the other new job is. Hashtag Mrhappy Mondays. Hey, Hap, hope your day is going well. Hope the same for you. A lot of day well hopers. That didn't come out right. My question would be regarding dance partner. Is it wrong if I were to ask the dancer to change dance partner to myself if I notice their partner is doing less damage? Oh, that is a tough question with a tough answer. The logic dictates yes. The problem is what the grounds for asking that are. Now, I'll say this. If you are doing pull after pull after pull, and their dance partner keeps dying and you keep not dying, that is an easy way to just be like, hey, that guy's dying a lot. Can I get dance partner? Like, even that is kind of a hard thing to say, unless it's in like Discord, like if it's in voice chat or something, like, hey, just he's died a bunch and we're both doing pretty good damage, would you mind if I got it? But you're still saying the other guy is fucking dead, so it's kind of hard to say it right. So that's the thing. Logic dictates, yeah, of course. Behavior dictates. Got some sensitive Sallies who might not like hearing, "Oh, he's dying." They're gonna hear, "Yeah, he's dying a little more than I am. Can I get dance partner?" We'll hear, "What do you say about me?" Because people just have the fucking mental acuity of a fucking giraffe. I don't know what that means. I just picked random words and put them together. But you know what I mean. They have the sensitivity of a baby's skin. There we go. That's probably a better analogy. And can't in any way accept that somebody could be playing better than them, even when you definitely are. So, I don't have a very solid answer for that. In voice chat, sure. Don't type it in the game, because even I'm, after the fucking rescue question, again, we don't even know if that shit's real, but a rescue question, who the fuck knows? Because I don't trust anything anymore. All right, and outside of a very quick lightning round, because I actually almost answered every question that I saw. Most of the questions and comments are about rescue, so I actually got almost every question. There's one about my favorite jobs in BD2. And it's kind of a semi-spoiler question, so I decided not to include it. I know what my answer is. I know what my favorite job is, know what my least favorite job is, but the game's still kind of fresh, so I don't really want to take anything too specific to like the names. I'm the kind of person who doesn't really consider job names that much of a spoiler, but I like to still try to keep it at least a little bit out of my frame of thought. It's tough, because during streams I definitely will say, "Oh yeah, this job and this job combination is great," and someone will be like, "I'm on chapter 1, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about." And that's kind of tough, because I really want to talk about it. So I'm not going to answer it, but I'll tell you that it's a job from chapter 3, my favorite one, and it's got quite some style to it. I hope you understand, because that's my favorite one. My least favorite one, my hint will be Cackling Idiot. There you go. And that one's not even bad, but I hate the guy who has it, so I don't want to talk about it. Somebody also asked a question about the 5.3 Sapphire weapon fight. You know what's funny, because I'm not going to consider that much of a spoiler. It's just asking if we'll get to pilot the suit. I think we will at some point. When? I don't know. But honestly, like, you use... how would a cool mech versus mech PvP mode be? We have that already. And I don't like it there. Granted, it's not the mech that we pilot in that quest. It's, the old Alexander mechs. But even still, I'm not a fan of it there. So it's hard for me to really give an opinion on anything other than that. And then I think that was like almost all the ones that I didn't answer. There was one where somebody was like asking, should they do boss fights with separate platforms? I mean, even if they do, it's going to be like the Hraesvelgr fight, where you just kind of pick like a thing that shoots you to another, or even like Kraken, like things like where you just have a set of land and then you take like a teleport pad to another one. That's like as close to like what you would see with something with like a lot of different platforms nowadays. Rescue, ultimate, rescue. Some tank buster related stuff. Also one on quick retainer ventures with an item that seems to no longer be available in quick retainer ventures, and consequently no longer exists in the game, and they should really just bring it back, in my opinion. I think we'll see those lost items end up somewhere else, and if not, we really should, because it doesn't make any sense for us to not have that. It's just, if it's an item that was only available one way and you remove the way to get it, you should put the item somewhere else or reincorporate it into that same content. There was one about housing and the lottery system. That lottery system is just there to make it as fair as possible. It's less about how much time. I mean, the thing is, it's frustrating. It's a very normal thing in Japan, those lottery style systems, but this one is like a lottery style system, but like, you know what our current housing system is like? You ever see them play Family Feud, where like they can hit the buzzer and then they're the one who gets to answer the question? It's like there's one buzzer, they have to wait until the buzzer lights up to press it, and everyone's hand is over it at the same time. And A, that's not social distancing, don't do that. And B, everyone's just uncomfortable, they're frustrated, and somebody else who's already pressed the button could just decide they want to come press the button because they just are trading their button for this button. So there's just constant fear. And while that might be more normal in Japan, man, does the West not like that. I just think, honestly, they need to upgrade apartments. Like, they mentioned maybe making an apartment upgrade system where we could make them mediums and larges. But then the biggest complaint they ran into is outdoors areas. We wouldn't have like a balcony. Maybe with Island Sanctuary, people aren't as worried about that. Maybe that kind of acts as the thing that keeps people from really feeling that way. But we don't know enough about Island Sanctuary yet. So I'm not comfortable saying that that will solve everything. And that might actually have been the last question. As like I said, I was pretty thorough with these questions, and a lot of them are not actually about, like, a lot of them are just commenting on last week's. So yeah, I'm just double checking one last time. That's the Slimes and Golem question, no new races question, Eden Promise Savage tier unlocked, and then these are all rescue. The Blue Mage 70 Thoughts video. Yeah, so I think that's everything, unless I'm mistaken and I'm just not seeing something, or it just doesn't pop up. But I think that's it for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. So thank you to everyone who asked a question on this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And if you have a question, ask it in the comment section of the video below, and I'll do my best to get around to it. So with that, I'm going to go eat, because I haven't yet, as seems to be the problem with every one of these Sunday videos. And I hope all of you have a wonderful Monday. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you guys then. Until then, take care.